and welcome to This Week in Laker Football. I'm Tyler Kieft, joined as always here with the West Bloomfield football head coach, Ron Bellamy. Ron, thank you for joining us again this week. So, last week against Bloomfield Hills, you're going up against a winless team, but a smart team that's well coached. Dan Lawyer's always got a great game plan coming in. So, what are some of the things that your team was focusing on going into the game, knowing that you're going up against a team that's really struggling, but looking to find something to hang their hat on over the course of the season?
Yeah, the biggest thing that we harped on was, don't look at their record. This opportunity for us as a football program to continue to grow and develop. It's a word we use a lot, is development. And, we wanted to go out there and be the best versions of ourselves. Not turn the ball over, no pre-snap penalties. And we had some of those, but we had it with our, second and third guys that don't get a chance to play a ton. But overall, I thought the first units, offensively and defensively, played sound.
So you're going into that game, and we see a lot of opportunity because you're coming in and you're having such an effective game, particularly on the offensive end, but also on the defensive end. So going up against a team like Bloomfield Hills and with the success that you're having early on, is that an opportunity for your team to maybe try some new things or go through some different schemes that maybe you wouldn't see in a game that's closer?
Yeah, absolutely. Whenever you jump out to a quick lead, you want an opportunity. I mean, the biggest thing for us as a coaching staff, we said, had we jumped out to a big lead, we wanted to kind of work on our depth. Work on, for us, the goal is to play past Thanksgiving, play this Saturday after Thanksgiving. And we have a lot of football left to play. And we want to make sure that we give our backups an opportunity to play in the game situation. You can only do so much in practice. And we did that. We accomplished that. Everyone played. Our backup quarterback, Alex Short, took some valuable minutes, some valuable snaps, and, some of our offensive linemen and some of our younger defensive linemen. So we were really pleased with that. Defensively,
we saw the Lakers be even more aggressive than we've seen them be in the past leading up to that game. And we saw a lot of hard rushes and blitzes against Rochester Adams, but it seemed like it was almost every play or every other play against Bloomfield Hills. Was there a motivation behind the increased aggressiveness against that particular offense?
Yeah, it's something we wanted to try defensively. We know they like to pass the ball, and we wanted to kind of work on some of our blitz packages, and the boys were effective getting back there. Even if it wasn't a sack, it was a forced throw. So, it was good for us. We're happy with what we did and where we were on Friday night.
So we've talked a lot in the past few weeks about the next man up mentality, and you've already spoken on it a little bit in this week's show. We saw the next guys down the depth chart get a lot of playing action, particularly in the second half against Bloomfield Hills. Guys like Alex Short and Makai Elam, Nico Davis. Seeing them play football still against the first string for Bloomfield Hills and their own successes, how bright does the future of this team, both this season and into next season and down the line, how bright does the future look for this team?
Honestly, I haven't even thought about next year yet. Right now it's just the next man up mentality. And you really want, as a coach, you really want to reward your kids for busting their butts during the week of practice, throughout the whole training camp, off season. Those kids they've been diligent about their craft and spending tireless hours. So they deserve an opportunity to play majority of that game. And it was fun watching those guys celebrate, high five, because I know that those guys are capable of making plays in their own right.
Still plenty of football left to be played in the season. You come off a 44-0 win, but there's always something that you can improve on. So what are some things that your team's been focusing on this week leading into another game against Oxford based on the performance against Bloomfield Hills?
Yeah, we still have some position battles. We still have, 1A, 1B at certain positions that, we want the kids to compete and iron those things out. We're still trying to play that game where there's no pre-snap penalties. Things that we can control, the legal motions, legal shifts, false starts, offsides, those type of penalties. We had a few against Bloomfield, so every week we're going to continue to talk about that. But most importantly for us, it's win a turnover battle. We tied for the turnover battle on Friday night, and the team, we tell our guys, the team that wins the turnover battle wins 75% of the time. So that alone, kind of gives you that edge in the game. But, that's the one area the two areas I should say is more or less the turnovers and the pre-snap penalties. That's something I want to clean up as we approach this playoff run.
So last Friday night, it was the last home game of the regular season. It's senior night. You have a lot of upperclassmen on your varsity football team. Talk to us a little bit about the seniors on this team and the impact that they've had this year and in past years as they've been on this football squad.
Yeah, when you look at the senior class, every year when a group comes in, you know that it's going to be a special group. And that's how we looked at this, this 2020 class. When they came in as freshmen and they had a great freshman year on freshman football, and they had a great JV season, and came last year. So we were super excited about this group, much like most coaches and most programs do. I like Lake Orion. We have a senior laden team. You look at that class and you say, man, this class can make some noise. If everyone stays healthy, you can make a deep run in the playoffs. And that's what we look at this team. Very talented team. But for me specifically, it's a great team. It's one of our stronger teams in terms of brotherhood. These kids love each other. They love playing for each other. And as a coach, you couldn't be more proud to represent this group.
All right, Coach Ron Bellamy and I will be back in a few minutes. But coming up next, I have West Bloomfield's quarterback, C.J. Harris, will join me here on This Week in Laker Football on the radio on 89.3 Lakes FM and lakesfm.com, and on television on Civic Center TV and the West Bloomfield School District's WB TV. Back in a few on This Week in Laker Football. This hour of programming is brought to you in part by Henry Ford West Bloomfield Hospital. 10 years ago, Henry Ford Health System celebrated the grand opening of its West Bloomfield Hospital. Since then, they've celebrated innovative new technologies, medical breakthroughs, and unique approaches to health and healing. To learn more about Henry Ford West Bloomfield Hospital, visit henryford.com/West Bloomfield 10. Henry Ford West Bloomfield Hospital is a proud sponsor of Civic Center TV, television that's close to home. Welcome back to This Week in Laker Football. I'm Tyler Kieft, joined now by one of the leaders of this West Bloomfield football team, their quarterback, C.J. Harris, in the big green and white number 1. C.J., thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
So you play the quarterback position. You got a lot of responsibility out on the football field. For those that don't play the game or haven't had any experience playing or coaching, how tough is it to play the quarterback position?
It's not as easy as a lot of people might, think it is. A lot of people just think like you just throw the ball and, hand it off sometimes. But, there's a lot more that comes to it. But also as get used to keep playing a position and you mature as like a football player and you start to learn more, the position becomes more easier and better to do. So, when I first started off playing quarterback, like freshman year, I didn't know much. So it wasn't as easy. But, as I matured sophomore year, especially last year, my junior year, getting new to playing varsity football, it really helped me out a lot. And now I'm pretty mature and I can handle the position pretty well.
So you said you started playing quarterback as a freshman. Before coming into West Bloomfield High School, did you play football and were you a quarterback before that?
I played a lot of positions in Little League. I did play quarterback my 7th grade year. My 8th grade year, I moved to receiver. And kind of a crazy story, freshman year, 7-on-7s, I was playing receiver most of the time, but the freshman team needed a quarterback. And I was like, well, I can throw the ball just a little bit. And then I threw myself out there, and then now I'm here. So it's kind of crazy.
Yeah, just a little bit, almost 20 touchdowns last season. He can throw the ball a little bit. So your experience playing these other positions on the offensive end, how did that help you develop into a quarterback with this team?
It actually kind of helps because, playing receiver, I know that I kind of want the ball a certain way. I know that when I throw it, I want to throw it a certain way that I know my receiver can go ahead and catch the ball. So being able to go ahead and just know what other people play how the position is, I know that can help me as well to help them.
So a lot of these guys you play with, like Donovan Edwards we've spoken to and other players, you've grown up with these guys and you've played a lot of football with them. Yeah. So to be on a team that's this successful with those friends that you've had experience with throughout your life developing into this football player, how does that help your team be so successful?
It just makes us tighter. It's a brotherhood. It's a very tight brotherhood. And especially knowing that, we've played together for so long, it just means that there's nothing that can break the bond that we have. So that just makes us know that we got our brothers back no matter what. So every week, every Friday we come out there, we play together as a team, as a brotherhood. And that just helps us out so much, Yeah.
So you come in last season. It's your first varsity season. You got big shoes to fill in the green and white number 1, taking over for Bryce Beasley. And you go all the way to the state playoffs, and you almost almost surpassed one of the best teams in the entire state in Belleville, and then near loss to end the season. That first season at the helm at quarterback, with all the challenges that it presented, how has that helped you become a better quarterback this year and improve against a really tough schedule so far?
Last season, I look at myself last season and I look at myself now. Last season, I wasn't a better passer like I am now, but looking at that, looking on to myself back then, I knew that was something that I had to improve. So I went ahead and, in the offseason, grinded really hard on my passing game, making sure I could pass the ball. And then I also went to studying different type of coverages and stuff like that because I knew all of it. I knew part of it last year, and I knew that was something that I needed to do to make our team better. So that's why I did all that stuff in the offseason, and that's why now, I'm more comfortable to where I'm at and, helping this team succeed no matter what, leading it any way I can.
So really tough competition all throughout the years so far. You've played Oak Park, you've played Clarkston, you've gone up against tough defenses like Southfield A&T. In the last couple of weeks against Rochester Adams and before that against Lake Orion, the offense has been fantastic, and it's really improved, especially in the last 3 or 4 weeks. Has something clicked with this offense that's maybe changed the dynamic, or what is the cause, so to speak, behind this great improvement?
I mean, me, honestly, I think we finally just decided to have some more confidence in ourselves. We've always knew that if we played fast football offensively, that nobody could play with us. And I said we tried to do it the first couple weeks, but we never really got a chance to do it. And especially the Lake Orion game, under the distress we had with only a couple minutes left, down by multiple scores, we knew we had to score fast. So I think that went ahead and just put an ultimate pep in our step. And then since the Lake Orion game, we just been going on since then, just going fast, playing fast, and that's why I think, in my opinion, we keep going.
Yeah, I mean, it's one way to build confidence, to come back from a 2-score deficit in the last couple of minutes of the game, and especially the way that the quadruple overtime went. So that game, was that a signature game for this offense, and how did that experience help the offense and you as a quarterback become that much better?
I think that was a very signature game for us. Offensively, if you were there Friday, you knew that it was kind of a struggle for us offensively. We weren't really getting to where we wanted to. We were having, good yards, but we were killing ourselves with turnovers. But then Saturday, we came out with a completely different attitude, and that went ahead and changed us. Since then, we've known as an offense that we can do great things. So now, game in, game out, practice. Every day in practice, we're going harder and harder. So I think that really just influenced us to a different way. And me too. My confidence was pretty high going into the season. After the couple first games, it kind of went down a little bit, but then that Lake Orion game really picked me back up. So now I'm really, I'm feeling good about myself, and that's good because that's the quarterback. You always want to feel good, and help your teammates around you.
So CJ is not going to be done wearing green and white when he leaves West Bloomfield at the end of this season. You're moving on afterwards to Ohio. You're going to play football for the Bobcats. What attracted you to Ohio University?
The coaches, they really, they came in here, I think it was December or January, they came in here and talked to me about the school, and they just talked to me personally. And, a lot of coaches, when they, recruit you, they don't really like to get to know you as a person, they know you as a football player. But, the coaches came in here, they wanted to know me as a person, how my family life was like. They wanted to know what I wanted to go into school at. And, I want to go into school like sports management, sports business, and Ohio has the perfect program for that. So that was another way that pulled me there. And then also it's not that far from home. And then the offense they run is almost like West Bloomfield. So it's something I really want to do, and I just had to go ahead and take it.
Well, we know one thing. CJ has a lot of experience managing a sports team as the quarterback of your West Bloomfield Lakers. CJ, thank you for joining us this morning. West Bloomfield quarterback CJ Harris. I'm Tyler Kieft. We'll be back in a few minutes with head coach Ron Bellamy. You're watching and listening to This Week in Laker Football on Civic Center TV, WBTV, and on the radio on 89.3 Lakes FM, lakesfm.com. Laker football is live every Friday this fall on Civic Center TV, WBTV, and 89.3 Lakes FM. Tune in before every game kicks off at 7 p.m. for live analysis from Dave Scott and Tyler Kieft, and then another great Laker football matchup. You can listen on Civic Center TV, WBTV, and of course on the radio on 89.3 Lakes FM and on the web on lakesfm.com. Welcome back to This Week in Laker Football on Civic Center TV and on the radio on 89.3 Lakes FM and lakesfm.com. Joined once again by West Bloomfield's head football coach, Ron Bellamy. So this week, you're going up against Oxford, and as we start off the last few weeks with previews of the upcoming game, tell us what you know a little bit about the Oxford Wildcats as a football team.
Yeah, I think of Oxford, I think of Bud Riley, Bud Ball, as I would call it. Just physical. It's a physical football team. They love to run downhill. Defensively, 3-4 defense, a very aggressive attack-style defense, and a well-coached team. And we know that we're going to, we're playing on the blue turf. We're traveling, far to Oxford country, Wildcat land. And we know we're going to get their best punch. And, my job is to make sure our boys are prepared for that battle on Friday night.
So much like Bloomfield Hills and even your next game after that against what will be the fourth place team in the Catholic High School League, you're going up against teams that have struggled a little bit. Does that change any the dynamic in preparing for this football game?
Oh, no. For us, the challenge remains the same. Be the best version of ourselves. Compete with one another in practice. Compete to get better every day. That's all we ask the kids, is just get a little better. You don't digress, just continue to work on your craft, and good things will happen. And if collectively we can put those individual efforts together, we're going to be a force to be reckoned with.
So maybe this is a dumb question, but you touched on the blue field at Oxford. We've seen odd-colored fields. I know Orchard Lake St. Mary's up the road has their red field, and even in the college game, Boise State's got a similar iconic blue field. Mm-hmm. Does that turf being a different color, does that have any impact on the game at all?
It doesn't. Honestly, if it's your first time playing on the turf, it's like, whoa, this is different, But all our kids have played at Oxford before, so our majority of them have. So that's not, nothing to us. We're going to go out there and treat it like it's green turf and go out there and try to execute offense, defense, and special teams.
Yeah, ultimately football is football. So far, leading into these last few weeks, really tough schedule. You've played a lot of powerful teams in southeastern Michigan and teams that are really powerful on a statewide scale in Oak Park, Lake Orion, Rochester Adams, and so on. These last few weeks, you're going up against teams that are struggling and maybe aren't going to be as closely competitive on the scoreboard. Does that present any challenges coming into the season and starting off against such tough competition? Does it wind down at all near the end of the year with teams that maybe are having a little bit more of a struggle?
When you look at the schedule, for us is Bloomfield Hills is always a wild card for us. They came to our field. They came to the Swamp a couple years ago and upset us on our own field. So obviously, we learned our lesson the hard way there. And, Oxford team that pushed us to the edge last year, we only beat them by 7 here at home. And they returned a lot of seniors. So, they're not having the year that they expected to have, but that's not our issue. Our issue is to go out there and, to perform at a high level and try to make sure we're peaking, for the playoffs. And, it just came out that our 9th game of the season is against De La Salle, who's, 2-time defending state champs of Division II. So we know they come from a hardcore Catholic league, and those guys are well coached. But, what a way to end our season. By far, one of the tougher schedules in the state of Michigan. But, go out there and play whoever we have to play and try to play the best of our ability.
Yeah, you look at a team like Oxford with one win over the course of the season, but they're also an OAA Red Division team. This is one of the tougher divisions in all of the state of Michigan. But let's circle back to the tough teams you played in the first few weeks of the season leading into these last few weeks. How did going up against that skilled of competition, that close of competition to the Lakers team, help build this team into what it currently is and what it can be down the road?
Absolutely. The old saying, iron sharpens iron. When we scheduled Oak Park week 1, we didn't schedule them just for, the glitz and glamour, say we play Oak Park. We scheduled them to get us ready for the playoffs. You're playing a team like Groves and the Clarksons of the world and the Southfield A&Ts of the world, the Lake Orions. We want to play that type of schedule year in and year out. If we're fortunate to make the playoffs, we've battle tested. We played some of the state's best talent. And, if you face any adverse situations during the playoffs, you don't blink because you've been there before. And I feel like our kids have been battle tested.
So it's like the saying always goes, if you want to be the best, you have to beat the best. Coach Ron Bellamy, thank you again for joining us this week, and thank you also for joining us on This Week in Laker Football. I'm Tyler Kieft, joined, of course, by head coach Ron Bellamy. This week, West Bloomfield goes up against Oxford on the road Friday night at 7 o'clock. Coverage begins at 6:30 on Civic Center TV, WBTV, and on the radio on 89.3 Lakes FM and lakesfm.com. This Week in Laker Football and all of our programming is brought to you in part by our good friends over at Henry Ford West Bloomfield Hospital, celebrating 10 years of serving our community, and we thank them for all their help in making This Week in Laker Football happen on our channels. We'll see you next week on This Week in Laker Football, and hope that you join us this Friday night when West Bloomfield finishes their OAA Red regular season against the Oxford Wildcats. Thank you.